Orofo Mwakwaba, Kahunse latest and hot news. And I'm a bro. So when you subscribe, Bomodi say we subscribe to channel. Now, like a video, give us a thumbs up. Nafi, share my offer so. Now, when you be here now, and some do na ekoso, ewo Ghana be mohanam. Afi yebura ye and semwa abeto yepono so. Bekaya ambassador Victor Smith, Ghana ambassador to US, Washington, Ghana embassy Washington, Penny Odano, Victor Smith, krata abeto abontin abraya che, Ken Ofori Atta ICE, Immigration and Custom Enforcement. One che na ekoye nsembebere no wane ye seka wane beko honom na eja omne Ken Ofori Atta akodi nkomona hu de ekoso eno na Ken Ofori Atta se da bilala enya de obehu bia ono bia bedi nkomo gise ne lawyers na wo ho ambassador agranti interview ema wode nsem dodo na ara atudwa afa ho danse na ebebura ye nsem no comment video yekohwe no comment na yentoa nsem no so.
Yes. We got it? Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. We got it? Yes. Thank you so much.
Yo, orofo yetwa ensem so ambassador Victor Smith ensem tudwa wo kire se enye icepe ene koche Ken Ofori Atta na FBI for kan kire se wane konfie na wane koche no na abra wande de koye no medically wo mo checki bibia because wo medical yi wo hodmo ya behwe se wo ye fit a beti meditain wo ho a wane hwe na kire se Ken fit a wane betimi editain wo ho na ambassador Victor Smith kire se abra oye na dwe sen ka wane be ko ho na ka wane hwe se wo sera Ken wo kire se onim Ken Ofori Atta pa wonyana damfo de but onim no wane ye se ka wane be ko ho na ka mo bia o betimi de aboa no na Ken ye na dwe se nya de o no behu bia no bia be kasa no oye very disappointed pa isan se o mse Ghana ni we Ghana bismi Ghana ni dia at least ye betimi ehu mo bia concern ne ade na ka etimi aboa na Ken Ofori Atta se la me ready se mehu obia na ambassador Smith ensemblebre atudwa fa ye Ken Ofori Atta on so na ye immigration lawyer so ensembi atudwa fa ye Ken Ofori Atta ho akoye ensembli ja yekuti ensema ekoso abra ye grant Victor Smith grant interview
by Victor Smith is joining us from Washington, I believe. He is ambassador to the United States of America, and he joins us via Zoom. Also joining us is Janelle Oklu. He's a U.S. immigration lawyer, also joins us on Zoom tonight, also from the U.S. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. I want to bring in first Victor Smith, because Mr. Smith, you issued a statement from your office last week when this happened. I want to take you back to the day the arrest happened. How did you get to know of this when Ken Ofori Atta was arrested at the consul there, and what did you decide to do when you were informed?
Program. Yes, I got to know about the arrest on the 7th of January, very early hours of the morning, when I got a call from, I think I actually got a call from a friend. I wasn't sure, so I called the Attorney General, Mr. Ayine, Dr. Ayine. And he confirmed that the FBI had been in touch with him, that they picked up
Ken Ofori Atta,
former minister, and one other. And we talked a little bit, and he was always in the picture, when it wasn't, the ICE did the picking up, but the FBI were also involved. If you recall, we had I'm not sure whether you know that one, but we had an extradition request from the government of Ghana, which we passed on to the Department of Justice. This was on the 29th of December. And I believe that acting on the request, they moved in on our brother Ken.
So that is a very important clarity. First, that the FBI was involved, and second, that based on your briefing, this particular arrest may have something to do with what he's wanted for in Ghana and the extradition.
I suspect so. The ICE did the arrest, but a few hours ago, I was also informed the FBI were involved. And of course, that sort of corroborated with what the Attorney General told me, that the FBI had informed him that they had picked him up.
Okay.
So
were you
I
also,
suspect.
Yeah, yeah, you suspect. You suspect that
I suspect it's a combination of these two factors. ICE normally would pick you for immigration issues.
Okay.
But then, of course, when the FBI comes in, then there must be some criminality or Interpol police request. So the red alert comes in there. So the combination of the two of them, convinces me that Ghana government had requested for this man to be brought in to help us, if you like, unravel some issues that have been brought against him as a former minister.
Were you also briefed about the revocation of his valid visa?
No, Attorney General mentioned that to me. The extent of my involvement at this stage was when he had been picked up. I discussed it with the consular officers of my embassy, and we decided to make a request to make sure that he was being treated properly as the protocols, international protocols. And so we requested, and they agreed in principle to allow us to come and visit. But just before we set out, the ICE people came again and said the detainee had refused to meet with us without his lawyers. That was the initial response from the detention center. And they were going to go back to him and probably request that his lawyers appear so we can come and verify for ourselves that he's being treated fairly and not being denied, for instance, his medication and all that. But we waited for a while. After about a few hours, they came back to us to say the detainee, being the ex-minister, had refused now to see us under any circumstance. So that was the end of the road for me and the embassy. So
the consular officers didn't even manage to get to the detention facility. This was all a phone conversation with yourselves and the ICE.
No, they came. The ICE came here. The representative came to my office. And they had indicated initially in the phone conversation that they had cleared the way for us to go. So I got myself ready with my consular officer. And just before we set off, the consular officer walks into my office and says, the ICE people are here. And I said, are we leaving? They said, no. They said, there's a problem. So I invited them to my office. And they said this to me, that the detainee is unwilling to have us visit him without his lawyers. And therefore, they asked me to hold on until they're able to sort out the lawyer's presence, with him. After about 2-3 hours, they came back and said he was adamant. He wasn't going to now, under no circumstance, did he want to see us.
How did you react to that?
Well, a bit of a disappointment because I know Ken personally. He may not be my friend, but I know him personally. And nobody had visited him at the time the ICE were discussing this with me. And I found, as being a Ghanaian and being our responsibility, so to speak, in a host country, I felt that if we had had the opportunity to at least hear about if he had some concerns for us to probably try and assist in that respect. So shutting the door in our face and not wanting to see us under no circumstance was a bit unfortunate.
I mean, since this incident, have you had any further information about the conditions of his detention?
Yes, the ICE people confirmed that he was all right. Initially, they had medical people to determine whether he was fit to be held in a detention center, and they were convinced and were assured that he was okay. He was on medication, but he wasn't seeing any doctor at the time, and he had his medication, so he could be put in the detention center.
So in other words, since he was arrested, the ICE itself had examined him to determine whether he was medically fit to be in detention.
Well, they had caused for him to be, assessed by the medical personnel, not themselves. Because I've been to one of those detention centers before. They have very, very fully manned medical center for the detainees. So they just, one thing I like about the ICE's approach is that they don't want people to put stories on them. So they were very welcoming and saying that come and see for yourself so you can be a witness whether we have done anything, towards the detainee. And so I respected what they had said to me, that he had been assessed and was given the all green, to be held in that detention center. If he had any serious medical conditions, maybe they would have referred him into a medical facility outside the detention center.
Do you know if Ken Ofori Atta was in the US at the time of his arrest with his family? Because we know the building. If you see the screen there, at least Manasseh has given us a bit more detail about where he was arrested and where he was staying. I'm pretty sure you would have that information too. Do you know any other details around who he was with, where he was staying, and what may have happened on that particular day?
The ICE gave me the information that he was picked up from his home.
Okay.
That was they were very clear about that one. They did not have any doubts about it, that we took him from his home.
Do you know if he was staying alone or he was with family?
I wouldn't know that. They didn't tell me that one.
Okay. This obviously is not something you are alien to. I mean, we've seen the numbers. At least there are almost 200 Ghanaians who may also currently be facing challenges such as this. Is this different from what you're used to? Does the Ken Ofori Atta, former finance minister, his status and profile, has it changed anything for you in terms of what you know happens in these matters? Or this is very normal from what you become used to?
Well, they view Ken Ofori Atta as a high-profile case. That they're very clear to me.
Okay.
Because he was an ex-finance minister, and even though there was an extradition, they knew, dealing with the Attorney General in Ghana, that this is a high-profile personality. And his visa issues, I can't go into it because I didn't know, but I know one thing, that if your visa expires, normally they give you 6 months visa when you enter the US with a 5-year B1, B2 visa. So they will grant you 6 months, and people normally travel out and come back in. My little information I had earlier on was that he traveled to the UK and came back into the US. As to what happened with his visa, I cannot talk too much about, except that I was told that by November 29th or thereabouts, his visa was no longer valid. And so it meant he was here illegally. His status was he did not have a visa to be in this country. But also hearing from other people, they were making attempts to, if you like, extend his stay or vary the visa to make him remain here until further notice. But I don't know where that request has reached. But before the ICE move in, they are certain that you don't have a visa in this country.
Yeah.
That's what they're moving.
Mr. Smith, please stay with me because Janelle Oklu is a U.S. immigration lawyer, also joins us. There's a few things you've said are fascinating. I want to put to her to get some clarity about, but also get some legal education on the back of what we're learning tonight. And Janelle, thanks for joining us from the U.S. I believe this is something you're very familiar with as far as the ICE detention of foreigners are concerned. Have you been involved in cases such as this and represented individuals who have been arrested in such a manner?
Okay. First of all, let me say thank you so much for having me on your program this evening. I have been a U.S. immigration lawyer for over 20 years now, and I can speak to what is typically done for detained cases, deportation cases. But if I can say clearly, as His Excellency the Ambassador has stated, Mr. Ofori Atta's case is clearly not a typical one. I know you mentioned.
Explain that. What makes it a non-typical case?
Oh, sure. It's the fact that he's a high-profile personality, a former minister in the Ghanaian government. I heard the statistic you gave about how many Ghanaians are currently detained, how many Ghanaians are up for deportation. But I can tell you quite certainly that he's not your regular Ghanaian in detention. And you yourself, when you were talking about his legal team that he has hired to defend him, I mean, here, as we say in the U.S., he has really lawyered up. Yeah. Okay, he is really lawyered up. When you see the lawyers that he's hired, former American AG, that is an indication of somebody who he's not going easily. So I was thinking about that when you mentioned the statistic about 99% of the people who go into detention end up deported. Trust me, less than 0.whatever% have a former American AG as their lawyer. So he's definitely not your typical case.
And this is something that Ambassador Victor Smith said that I want to pick your thoughts on.
Sure.
He discloses that FBI was somehow involved in the ICE arrest. What do you read into that? I mean, what can you tell us about the fact that FBI was involved? Does it change anything?
It does. To me, it's an indication that this isn't simply about a visa overstay.
Okay.
Right? If it was just a visa overstay, this visa revocation overstay, I dealt with a number of cases with, say, international students, maybe who they had their student visa revoked, that sort of thing. But no, I feel that the fact that the FBI was involved is an indication of what was said previously, that this had to do with the extradition request.
Okay.
And that is why the FBI is involved.
And what also do you make of our Attorney General's disclosure that his visa was revoked. He says the FBI confirmed to him, he says an authority, and I have no basis to doubt him because the Attorney General. How common is that your valid visa is revoked by the United States?
Okay. Prior to the current administration, prior to the current U.S. administration, that was incredibly uncommon. It rarely ever happened. Typically, the visa revocation only happened when you were back in your home country, okay, or you had specifically committed a crime in the U.S., that sort of thing. That's when these type of visa revocations happen. However, with the current administration here in the U.S., we have seen that happening. We have seen people having their visas revoked while they're here in the United States. I gave the example of international students. So people, for example, who are here on F1 student visas, if the government found that, some of their online activity was something that they find objectionable, then the U.S. State Department may revoke their visas. Same thing with people who are here on valid work visas. Okay, so all of that to say, in this basically the new administration we have here in the U.S., that actually has been happening. So I would say someone who is here in the United States on say B1, B2, they're seeking medical treatment. Typically, they would be able to apply to extend their stay depending on how the treatment is going, what the physicians say, the surgeons say. However, there's an exception, of course, if you have an individual who, his home country is seeking to extradite him for investigation or further prosecution.
And there's something I found interesting, and then this comes back to the FBI's involvement here. You suggested that if the FBI is involved, then it's not just a case of overstaying your visa. It may be, as the ambassador suggests, it relates to the extradition. But the extradition path is, correct me if I'm wrong, legally very distinct from the immigration and possible deportation path. And so if the FBI was involved and it's an extradition request, why would the FBI get the ICE involved and, let's assume this, based on what we know so far, revoke his valid visa so that it becomes an immigration matter? I mean, can you square that circle for me?
Okay, sure. I can say that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Okay.
This might be a way to basically for them to be able to tackle it from various angles. Meaning, yes, ICE deals with immigration and customs enforcement, immigration. However, the ICE, they cooperate with local police, state police, and essentially the FBI in many ways is like a national law enforcement for the United States. So when you have something where you're dealing with a foreign country's government, it would certainly be conducted through the FBI. So all of that to say that it could be that they're tackling the issue from multiple respects. Like one, this idea of visa revoked, visa overstay, but then at the same time responding to a foreign government's request for extradition.
Okay, so this is just possibly could be a strategy. You have the extradition, but you also then needs to go through the immigration hearings, and the extradition hearing is also separate. Could actually still happen.
Yes. So if he's not caught in one, he could be caught in the other, essentially. Sure.
Go on, please go on.
No, and I'll say this, and actually, if you don't mind bringing up your previous screen that you had up when you had his applied for adjustment of status and the visa.
Let's show that on our screen for Janelle there to see.
Viewers.
Yes.
Yeah, and then perhaps if I can explain that, because the thing is, for visa, immigration, and loan, Okay, for visa immigration alone, his chances of actually being removed from the United States, especially given the legal team that he has, it's very small, right? So I would say it's the flip of what you say when you said that, oh, most people who are in ICE detention, 99%, they end up removed from the US. No, he would definitely be in the 1%. The reason being, okay, first of all, you mentioned here that he has filed for adjustment of status. Let me say this. Generally, in order for someone to file for adjustment of status, they need to be in status at the time that the adjustment is filed. I do not know the full facts of his case, so I don't know when his application for adjustment of status specifically was filed. I would be curious to know, was it before or after his visa was revoked? Because if they filed for adjustment of status at the time that his visa was revoked and he was already considered an overstay, okay, if that's the case, then it's possible that the immigration judge may find that the adjustment of status filing was improper. Right? Improper, invalid adjustment of status. But I don't know the timing of the filing. The other thing is adjustment of status. Generally, you are not, okay, as a foreign national in the United States, you are not entitled to just file for adjustment. It has to be based, okay, it has to be based on a specific immigrant petition. So then the question I have is, what is his basis for adjustment of status? Is it possible, what was mentioned earlier in your program, that, is it possible that he's one of, the first to apply for one of these Trump gold cards? Is that the basis of his adjustment of status filing? I specifically don't know the facts of his family situation, but I wonder, does he have adult children who are perhaps hold U.S. citizenship? If that's the case, is it possible that one of his adult children has sponsored him? And through that means he's filing for adjustment of status. Another question I would have is, in any part of this, it hasn't been stated. All I've heard is adjustment of status is at any point, has he filed for asylum, political asylum? So,
and another point that his lawyers, when they issued this statement and they made a disclosure that he has filed for adjustment of status, said this is routine, is it?
Well, it is routine if you have a valid immigrant petition. So that is the question, is what is the basis of his adjustment of status? Is it, as I said, the family relationship, or is it, through some employment means, the Trump gold card? That is one of the possible employment means for adjustment of status.
So there's a point you make, then I want to return to the statistics that we got from the ICE database, which is that in 1 year, 28th of January to the 8th of January, 28th of January 2025 to 8th of January 2026, out of the total arrests of 352,590, a total of 352,380 were deported. And if you do the maths, it's 99.94%. You say, based on everything else you are reading and hearing and your experience, Ofori Atta could be part of the 0.6% who may actually be arrested and get to stay in the U.S.
Certainly. Let me explain how that could possibly play out. You mentioned that he has his immigration hearing coming up on January 20th.
Yes.
That's a week from tomorrow. Okay, so he has an immigration hearing coming up from a week from tomorrow. Now, I don't know. It is true that the current U.S. administration, sometimes they do these expedited removals, okay, expedited removals from the U.S. But once again, given the legal team that Mr. Ofori Atta has, given his legal team, it is quite likely, I'm sure, that they could file a number of things. For example, they could file a writ of habeas corpus with the U.S. Federal courts, like basically stating that their client is being unjustly held. Okay, that's even before getting to this January 20th date, that their client is being unjustly held. When the date his hearing comes up before the immigration judge, they could certainly request for his release on bond. Okay, that perhaps they could pay a bond as long as they could show that he's not a flight risk. And it seems that's the case, because it's the opposite, right? He's not trying to leave the U.S. He wants to stay in the U.S. So they could show the immigration judge that, okay, he's not going to leave, and then request that he be released on parole. If he's released on parole, it's possible the immigration lawyer could even ask the judge to give him, either something like, for example, they have these electronic ankle monitors. Even that one is quite severe. Sometimes they can request, give him a curfew, in lieu of keeping him in detention. One thing this is clear, which you've said, is Mr. Ofori Atta is a person of means, right? He's a person of great financial means. So someone in that position, I believe, and given the legal team that he has, they will find ways for him to not have to be deported. So all of that to say that, I think, would be the reason for the FBI to be involved, right? To show that this is more than just an issue of possible visa.
Fascinating indeed. And doesn't matter that John Ashcroft, the former Attorney General, in 2016 endorsed Trump. And it was very, very public. If you read about it, Trump loved him at the time because he was a significant player in the Republican Party. He served under Bush. Does that hold any currency in the U.S. jurisprudence and legal system? And knowing who Trump is?
Sure. I'll say this. I mean, the United States is a nation of laws, okay? So just simply having the former AG as your lawyer is not an automatic out, okay? It's not an automatic out. And I would also say this. These are actually competing interests. I personally do not know anything about Mr. Ashcroft's connection, personal connection with the current U.S. President, Donald Trump. But if in fact, the Ghanaian government, Ghana's AG, has been in touch with, FBI, which is Department of Justice, right? I'm sure they've also stated their case to the Department of Justice, which includes the U.S.'s current AG, right? So it would be, I don't know the position of the U.S.'s current AG versus, the Attorney General from, John Ashcroft for the Attorney General during the George W. Bush administration, which at this point was, over 15 or more years ago.
And really fascinating. Janelle, please stay with me. I want to bring in Ambassador Victor Smith back into the conversation. Ambassador, from everything we were hearing, it's very possible that 20th doesn't resolve this because the legal team he's assembled, as Janelle is just telling us, is very, very strong, and they have a series of things they can file to frustrate the process and to get their clients there. I know he said he doesn't want to engage the embassy and the consular services under any circumstance, but he's still a citizen of the Republic. He's waived his right for consular representation. Would you still be there on the 20th to see what happens?
Well, my information is that on the 20th, he may not be in court himself. It might be done virtual because the FBI don't want him to be moved about too much. Now, it will be in front of an immigration judge. And if the immigration judge has no basis to keep him here longer, he'll be on the next flight to Ghana. That's what I know.
And explain that. In the cases that you become accustomed to in the last 1 year, once the judge says you don't have a case, what then happens? What chain of events kicks in immediately?
Some of the detainees who we've come into contact with had no document. They were undocumented. So we had to try and prove that they were Ghanaians before they would make that determination to fly them out. So then sometimes they go to court and we're not able to finish that matter because we cannot prove where they are coming from. But in this particular special case, they have 3 of his passports and all of them show clearly that he's a Ghanaian.
They have 3. So, they have 3 passports of Ofori Atta.
3 passports. Yeah, but they're all like. There's I believe he has what is it? The new type. The
biometric type.
Chip embedded.
The chip embedded.
Yeah, they said 3 passports, and each one had the same details. So they don't believe. They have no reason to believe that he had another nationality.
I mean, were all the 3 passports valid, or these are the passports that had expired at various times?
Well, that was not told to me, but they said 3 passports. And none of them was any other country but Ghana's passport. So I take it that matter is settled. He's a Ghanaian. Okay, so there won't be a problem before the immigration judge to determine his nationality. Now, if there's no basis to keep him here longer, because his visa is out of status. He doesn't have a visa to remain in this country. That is the easiest way to take him back to his country.
Okay. Do you also know if he holds the citizenship of any other country apart from Ghana?
I don't know. Well, initially there was like a suspicion, but there's no evidence so far. As far as ICE is concerned, they haven't had any evidence that he has some other passport, also has some other details other than what is in his passports that they've seen.
Do you have any information on the extradition request? And I believe you said at the beginning that this your outfit, your office may have been activated in the process of making the request. Do you have any details from the U.S. government on that part of Ofori Atta's problems?
No. We just were asked by Ghana government to submit the documents that they brought in. They put the document together with the U.S. Embassy in Accra and everything, and they brought the document for me to deliver to the Department of Justice, which we did on the 29th of December. So they have not come back to us to say anything to us about him. So the next thing we heard was the arrest. So at this point in time, I cannot say categorically that it's the extradition thing which is being kicked in. But like the lawyer Jonelle was saying, it's possible with the FBI going in, it must be a Department of Justice directive. So this is where we are now. But the chances are that he may be asked to assist Ghana government to unravel all those mysteries about the charges that are being leveled against him.
And Jonelle, typically, how long does it take for a case like this to be resolved, to be had and resolved?
As I said, it's possible that his legal team could look for all sorts of ways to keep him in the country.
Okay.
If they file the writ of habeas corpus, that would be heard by a federal judge here in U.S. Okay. If he fails at that level, and I'll be honest, as I said, he's not your ordinary, ordinary detainee. It's possible then he'll ask his lawyers to appeal that, right, to the federal appeals court. And barring that, he could also ask them to appeal it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, that's not to say the U.S. Supreme Court would necessarily accept to hear his case. Okay, they could decline to hear his case, but nevertheless, that would be more time that he would buy for himself. Yes.
And spare a few moments to talk to me about the Krana Detention Center. I don't know if you've been there before representing the clans. What are the conditions there?
I think in the beginning of your show, I saw when
the pictures,
you were showing people. I would say currently the detention center is not any place that anyone would want to be. Under normal conditions, and especially now with the ramp up in deportations here from the United States, really the detention centers, they are overcrowded. It's said, 2 people in a room. Quite honestly, it could end up more than, 2 detainees in a room. Now, to say this, as His Excellency, the Ambassador, has stated, it seems that ICE is aware that Mr. Ofori Atta is, a special case. Right. And so it's quite possible that, he may be given special treatment that your ordinary detainee is not afforded. So it's quite possible that if they're aware, that he's a special case, that he could get better accommodations than what is normal, which right now are, overcrowded conditions.
Overcrowded conditions. And the data last year, I noticed some actually filed petitions about, particularly the current detention center. There's another one, I think Farmville, also in Virginia. 2 of them had issues around what you're just talking about, the overcrowding.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.